We have a shocking New York Jets trade update as the Jets are favorites to land star receiver Chris Olave if he is to get traded off of the New Orleans Saints, which is a possibility with the way that Derek Carr has been playing and throwing Olave hospital balls. The problem is the Jets also do not have a clear answer at quarterback as well, so it's unclear why the Jets might make the most sense in a trade, but we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe. If you're part of that 79% of viewers not subscribed and you want daily New York Jets news, rumors on trades and free agency, injury updates, fun reports, live streams coming soon, a bunch of fun stuff coming to this channel, make sure to subscribe. But let's jump into it, Matt. The New York Jets are strong favorites to trade for Saints wide receiver Chris Olave, according to Bovada. Olave is a 24-year-old former All-Rookie who played at Ohio State with Garrett Wilson. The two are very close friends. This would certainly be a trade that I would 1,000% entertain, especially in a world where Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams leave the Jets. But it's kind of shocking to come across. There hasn't been a ton of discourse on Olave getting moved off of the Saints as of right now. So it does make you wonder why this is happening, but obviously I'd be a big fan of it if the Jets could pull it off.
So the first thing to talk about here is, would it actually make sense for the New Orleans Saints to trade their star wide receiver Chris Olave? Because like you said, he's a 24-year-old, really talented wide receiver that they traded up in the draft to spend the first-round pick on. So the reason why they would trade him would be the fact that they are in the worst position in the entire league salary cap wise. So they need to free up space, and they are going to be pushing forward with a new regime here, with a new head coach who probably wants more contract flexibility. As far as the New York Jets trading for Chris Olave, I think it makes zero sense because we've seen from history that a star wide receiver like this is going to cost a first-round pick, maybe more. So the New York Jets, that's what A.J. Brown was traded for a couple of years ago. But it was kind of common knowledge at the time that the Titans lost that trade. Although Stephon Diggs, a couple of years before that, was also traded for a first-round pick. So that's kind of what these receivers are traded for. They're dealt for first-round picks. So then you look at the first-round picks that the New York Jets own. We have the 7th overall pick in the draft this year, which I'm not interested in trading for Chris Olave, who has suffered 4 concussions over the last 5 years. Every time you get a concussion, it's easier to get the next one. So it is not even a 100% fact that he will be playing in the NFL next year. He has made it clear that he wants to return, but I mean, these concussions are very scary. We see it Tua, and these concussions are nothing to play around with. It's the one injury that you can't tough it out because it could be life-threatening down the road. So this 7th overall pick, I'm not trading that for him. Next year, we could be in the sweepstakes for Arch Manning. I'm not interested in trading that pick for him. And then in 2027, the Saints aren't going to accept a 2027 first-round pick for Chris Olave. They traded up for this guy. I would not expect them to trade him because also, and then the next step, the Jets need to pay Garrett Wilson a ton of money. Are they going to follow that up by paying Chris Olave a ton of money? Reading this tweet, the number one takeaway I have is I am questioning who Bovada official is, and I want to bet on their lines because they clearly don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it's a fun idea to have Olave on the Jets, but it's one of those situations where there's just no reason to give up a first-rounder for him. I mean, even if the Jets had to trade Garrett Wilson, it wouldn't make sense to trade for Olave because it'd be 2 separate trades. You wouldn't move him to the Saints for Olave, so you would then take the haul you got for Wilson and basically flip it for Olave, which doesn't make a ton of sense. It just doesn't feel like there's a real route for the Jets to get him in a situation that makes sense for the team. I like the idea of having him. It's just a matter of the price tag being an issue. The Jets, it's unclear what they're going to do with that 7th overall pick. I hope.
So I want to paint one picture. The one situation where it does make sense is if the Jets do sign Justin Fields in free agency, which we are not fans of. If they want to then go ahead and make him as comfortable as possible, Garrett Wilson played on Ohio State with Justin Fields, and so did Chris Olave. So that'd be 2 of his wide receivers back. That would make him as comfortable as possible. And of course, he would be extremely comfortable with 2 young star wide receivers, which quarterback wouldn't. So that is the only avenue where I could see why the New York Jets would ever do this. But like you said, Olave and Garrett Wilson, in terms of the NFL, they're very similar assets. They are young wide receivers on their rookie contract, and they both are coming up for a big payday soon. Garrett Wilson's is going to be bigger than Chris Olave's, but that doesn't matter at this point. It's not fantasy football. You're not going to trade away Garrett Wilson for a first-round pick and like a fourth-round pick and then trade that first-round pick for Chris Olave so you still have a good wide receiver, but you netted a fourth-round pick. That's the only argument I could even see. Like, that's the only possible argument against us for trading for Olave. That doesn't make sense to me. It's not fantasy football. Keep the guy who has familiarity with New York, with the New York staff, I know we have new coaches, but not all the coaches are going to be new. Garrett Wilson is going to know guys. He already lives in the area. It's not Madden. These are real players who lead real lives outside of football, and we're not going to be trading Garrett Wilson we're not going to be just, it doesn't matter. Like, what I'm saying is trading for Chris Olave does not make any sense.
Yeah, it really doesn't. But it is interesting to see the Jets as the favorites here. Now, it is important to mention that they're the favorites if Olave gets traded. Now, because the odds are essentially where would he play? Where is he expected to play next season?
The Commanders make a ton more sense because they have a star quarterback. I don't know how old you are, Chris, but you might remember just a couple of years ago.
We're the same age.
The goal used to be you would get your young quarterback playing for a year, and then in the second and third year, you would trade for an elite weapon to pair him up with, and that's where the quarterback would break out. Jaden Daniels broke out without an elite weapon. Chris Olave, like maybe the Washington Commanders trade for Chris Olave to add more offense to that Commanders team. They barely punted last year. Chris Olave could make a huge difference if you added him to the team as well, alongside Terry McLaurin and Ben Sinnott or Zach Ertz, whichever tight end you decide you're going to roll with in the future. They make more sense. The Steelers make more sense. I honestly, again, Bovada Sports, very, very concerning to me. I'm not sure. If this is a betting website, I'm not sure how they're making money here.
Yeah, they also have the Broncos behind the Jets at plus 600.
The Broncos make a ton more sense. I'm actually kind of jealous that I didn't bring them up because they have Bo Nix. They don't have they have nothing even close to what could be considered a good weapon. Cortland Sutton. I mean, I like Cortland Sutton, but he's not the guy that's gonna. You don't go, oh, we've Bo Nix and we paired him with Cortland Sutton. He's not good enough for that. I've always held that he's better than Calvin Ridley, but Cortland Sutton isn't a difference maker when it comes to wide receivers, and he's not going to be the reason why Bo Nix has an additional breakout. He already broke out as a rookie, but you want to see him play even better. Of course, getting blown out in the first round of the playoffs is not what you're looking for. Of course, he was a rookie. Give him some time. If you give him a really good wide receiver like Chris Olave, he could play even better. I expect the Denver Broncos to use their first-round pick this year on a wide receiver, so Chris Olave would honestly make sense. The only reason why Denver actually doesn't make sense and why they have to trade him is they also don't have a lot of cap space.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes the same issue, but the Broncos would make sense. You get Bo Nix, a true wide receiver one, which would help. But, I mean, it's just an interesting thing to think about, especially with Garrett Wilson. Like, it's unclear if he's going to request a trade off the Jets, which is certainly possible. It feels a little less likely than it did during the season, but that just might also be because how bad the vibes were. And now, with the new regime, maybe he'll give him a shot. But it does make you wonder about the Jets because they're in a very similar boat with Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson is to get traded, what do we think happens at this point?
We don't turn around trading for Chris Olave. If Garrett Wilson gets traded, we would either draft a wide receiver with that pick if Emeka Egbuka or Luther Burden were still on the board. Mm-hmm. And it would be more increasingly likely for the Jets to spend the 7th overall pick on Tetero and McMillan, should he still be there. And if Garrett Wilson, I really do not want to trade Garrett Wilson. It doesn't make enough sense to me to trade away a guy who's so clearly a home run of a draft pick. He's a really, really good wide receiver. If you are going to be trading away Garrett Wilson, that means you're going to a deep rebuild because you need to free up the future cap space and you don't want to pay him long term. So I really hope we've seen a lot of troubling reports that Garrett Wilson may be requesting a trade here soon. We really are hoping that does not happen, seeing how he's my favorite player on the Jets. Is he your favorite player on the Jets?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, our that's our guy, G5. We do not want him going anywhere, and I really hope he doesn't go anywhere. And I also love Chris Olave because that trio of wide receivers with Olave, Garrett Wilson, and JSN at Ohio State were a ton of fun to watch, but not at the price of Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I really don't exactly think Garrett Wilson's going to get traded right now. I don't think it makes. Obviously, I don't think it makes sense for the Jets, but I don't think it makes like a huge difference if he waits the year. I know there's the extension coming up, but wherever Garrett Wilson goes, he's going to get paid. There's no question on how great this guy is and how much better he's going to get throughout his time.
Well, you would only trade him if he requested a trade.
Yeah, no, of course.
Or if you need to free up the cap space. So Garrett Wilson doesn't have to worry about a thing. He just has to worry about, is he playing for Aaron Rodgers, whoever the Jets bring in, or is he playing for a different quarterback?
Yeah, I imagine that we'll find that out sooner rather than later. Obviously, with the Rodgers stuff kind of coming to a close as well. But, I mean, it is interesting to hear you finally give your 2 cents on Chris Olave. And hint, hint, it's not surprising. But I like how no one's going to understand that.
I mean, unless they read the descriptions of Nick's Digest videos, they're not going to get it.
Unless they read the description from a Nick's Digest video from months ago. From a singular video. Deep cut. But yeah, I mean, I think Garrett Wilson's going to stay with the Jets. I think Chris Olave is probably going to stay with the Saints. I know they're in cap hell, but trading Olave doesn't make sense. They want to bring back Derek Carr next season, which, I mean, Derek Carr threw a few hospital balls Chris Olave's way, which didn't help as they caused concussions. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. It's not funny, but Olave's not getting moved, dude. He's not. End of the day, Bovada still has the Saints as the team that he's going to play for next, where he's going to start next season at minus 500. So he's going to stay with the Saints. I think there's a plethora of guys they would move over Chris Olave. I think the majority, if not every single player on the team. The Alvin Kamara contract is a nightmare. But I mean,
yeah, but the Alvin Kamara contract is, well, first of all, it was a nightmare, and then they extended him this year or something. They reworked it to get him under contract for even longer. And everyone in the league knows that contract's a bad contract, so they're not going to want to pay that. Chris Olave is the shiny piece that if you got to trade something, you got to trade Olave, because to get something back, you got to give something up. You can't give something up that no one wants.
Yeah, but it might be addition by subtraction, just trying to move salary in any way you can.
No, I'm saying, like, if I'm the Jets, I don't want to trade for Kamara. I don't want that salary. I wouldn't trade a 7th-round pick for Alvin Kamara. I don't want the salary. I don't want to pay a running back.
No, it's like you give draft capital with him if you really want to get out of contracts.
I mean, yeah, but they're so bad that they just have to wait it out. So I wouldn't even do that. I would just let the contracts tick and rebuild for the future. That's why it is being called the worst head coach job opening of the decade. What is the Saints head coaching job?
And they're still coachless. But guys, let us know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications, hit Matt, make a Matt Pinata, and beat it up, and send a video into Jets Digest to get featured on the channel. Guys, have a great day, and go Jets.